What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. Um, so yeah, man, yesterday was a crazy day. Obviously, if everybody's seen the news, everybody's seen the events that happen. Um, Usually, I would probably stay away from most of the stuff when stuff like this comes up, but it's just one of those things, and just seeing the stuff that's going on, it's just one of those things where you feel like you kind of gotta, just express some thoughts and feelings on just the climate and how stuff is shaking out. Like I said, I usually sit in my own thoughts and think about the stuff and have an internal reaction to it. But at the same time, like I said, posting with a purpose. And a lot of times with stuff like this, you usually end up on one side or the other, right? So you'll have your views and opinion and against other people's views and opinion. And as we, seen yesterday, somebody having a difference of opinion, people taking action against that person and just doing unthinkable things to people. But how I'm gonna start this off today is I'm gonna play a couple of videos, just talking and just showing some reaction to obviously the events that happened. And then I think I'm gonna go back in and kind of deep dive just my views and thoughts and opinion on some stuff just from my internal feeling on some things, and then we'll dive back into it and just kind of have a conversation about it. So let's get ahead and get it rolling. So obviously, I'll let you go to Anton Daniels' page to hear his thoughts and concerns about it. So I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit just to get back to the next person kind of giving their spill on the situation before I, decide to deep dive back into it. But just listen to people's reaction, man. It's a little wild. It's a little wild. chick said she had a soul death. What the fudge cake? And he about to talk about it too, which is crazy. But like everybody keeps talking about the Epstein files on that kind of stuff too. I mean, I won't even dive into that. Like I guess I could probably comment on that a little later. But I mean, I might just I was gonna dive into it, but I might just dive into it anyway. When you say things like this, people take it as you're rocking one way or another. And I mean it is what it is at that point. But releasing the files does what? Because if it's an investigation file and there are names in the file that should have been investigated, then more than likely they would have. Just my opinion. I could be wrong. So you release a file that has a list of names on it. Now everybody on that list is going to get accused of doing something or having some kind of tie to a person, even if they didn't. So that's like case of point. They run somebody down and they like this is a list of associates. Now you can have people on your associate list that had no involvement with none of the illegal stuff that you were doing, but you're an associate. So that means that you committed a crime. Somebody make it make sense. Just saying. So obviously he makes a good point there. Another one we're going to jump up on is I guess Miss Amanda Seals giving her viewpoint and opinion on some things as far as the Charlie Kirk situation. So let's see what Miss Amanda has to say about the situation. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I did, but some people might. Let's continue with her speech. So let me jump in right there. So she is making a valid point as far as empathy, which some people are saying they should have empathy for him. Some people will more so lean on lines of sympathy. Obviously, empathy. When you look at the difference between empathy and sympathy, empathy is more of a connection, feeling exactly what that person's feeling with the situation that they're dealing with. And when it comes from sympathy, you're looking at more so giving yourself a barrier, understanding what the person is going through, but also keeping your distance so it's not an emotional connection or any kind of tie. to you and the person going through whatever they're going through. Crazy. Like the stuff that's going on is just wild. I don't know if he had anything else that she let her. She jumped back in and started cooking on some other stuff. Let me see. Oh wait, yep. Here we go. Let's let her get back to it. Hang on. He wasn't talking about black gays. He was answering a question about violence, gun violence in particular. And if you watch the video, watch the clip, which most people have, you would be able to determine and disseminate that. First question I was asked before that was a question in reference to um I'm like transgenders and mass shootings. And then the next question followed up was when he was shot was asking about um gun violence, and the first thing what he said was not including gang violence. And then obviously people seen the video, you seen what happened. But what is she talking about? Because I don't know. I just confirmed it from him. That wasn't what was that wasn't what he was talking about, but that's fine. Another false, because obviously they came back and showed that the person that they originally grabbed wasn't the person that actually pulled the trigger. Facts is facts, man. People I tell people all the time when it comes to dealing with stuff, you got to deal with the facts and not the stuff that people just roll with. But that's the society we live in right now. People just roll with stuff that's not facts. Eh, I mean, she said what she said. It is what it is. But a lot of people talking about the quote that he had talking about empathy. So I'll pull that piece up, kind of run that through too, and then I'll get back into my thoughts and kind of ideas on the whole situation, what's going on. So obviously there you go, right? Everybody see the news and understand what happened. Obviously, um, with Charlie Kirk. going through the stuff that he went through, and obviously, ultimately losing his life through to an assassin's bullet, which obviously in America happens far too often. If you go back and look at America's history, there were a lot of prominent folks, you know, black and white, that were taken out because people didn't agree with what their viewpoint was, or what their stance was. And a lot of times it necessarily doesn't break down to a race thing, where there's a situation of, obviously, it being a person of opposite race or a different race taking out the person that was killed. Yeah, Malcolm X case, he was, shot and killed by brothers. And, Martin Luther King's case, he was killed by a white man. JFK, and the whole conspiracy theories that go and tie into all of that. But pretty much my purpose for getting into this particular thing was, obviously, if you look at the dude at face value, the guy was a Christian, obviously. And if you actually go back and actually pull a lot of his videos and look at a lot of his debates that he was having with people, even though he might not agree or came from the same viewpoint that a lot of people came from, he was open to having those open conversations and those open dialects and open dialogues. And he always did it from a standpoint of doing it respectfully, never was disrespectful to anybody, never got rowdy with anybody. He pretty much just had an open conversation with people. And that's what he was doing, even in the event of his passing, right? He was at a campus, uh, giving debates and stuff like that. But what trips me out is, what got me about it is, man, like, what in the world is going on in the world? Like, even look at America, like, what is going on? Obviously, you got different political views and different sides of the, people stand on different sides of the fence or different sides of the street about a lot of things that's going on. But at the end of the day, like, what in the world is happening that we got people pretty much just running amok and doing whatever they want to do? Now, with this particular situation, everything today becomes politicized, right? Like, obviously, with the string of things that was going on, there were shootings going on recently throughout in America and things of that nature. So obviously, the gun laws is always a big thing, but that's been going on for years and across different administrations, not just this one. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people break down this like, well, the NRA, the gun lobbyists, and all that kind of stuff are always pushed for certain rules and things of that nature. But if you're a person that legally owns a gun, let's talk about guns for an example. Let's talk about guns currently, right? If you're a person that legally owns a gun, you know the process you got to go through to actually purchase a weapon. You got to go through, obviously, background checks and things of that nature in order to be able to purchase a weapon. But there are also places where you can purchase weapons by bypassing all those particular things. So when people talk about gun laws and stricter gun laws and things of that nature, like, my question to that is always, what actually is the best approach to when it comes to gun laws? If the people that are getting these weapons are committing the crimes that they're committing, 9 times out of 10, either one, are not getting the weapons themselves, or two, they're not legally purchased weapons. You can do a study and do a breakdown and go through the nooks and crannies of it. But if you get to the deep dive and start looking at that, what is the reason people are committing the crimes they're committing with these guns and stuff like that? People will say, obviously, there's got a lot of people that have mental health issues and things of that nature. So that should be a focus. And then, but everybody always, it's like people jump to the quick narrative of, oh man, it's a gun law, it's a gun law, it's a gun law. Okay, you change the laws. A lot of people still own guns. The question is, or I would say, like, what would be the best solution for fixing that issue? If a criminal on the street can get a gun at any point in time, and if you lived in any kind of place where crime is high and there's a lot of crime and stuff like that going on, people have weapons and guns that probably shouldn't have weapons and guns. So how do you stop that from happening? If you're talking about from a legislation standpoint, like, okay, let's legislate for guns not to be prominent. Let's do this. Well, it's not the legal guns 9 times out of 10 that are killing people. It's the illegal guns that are killing people. So the question should be, how do we stop the illegal guns? That should be a focus. But then to say, like I said, go back, if you pull Charlie Kirk stuff, man, like, you can look at the different debates he's had about gun laws when it comes to reparations. I think somebody posted a video talking about hey man, Charlie was talking about reparations and stuff like that. And even if you deep dive into a lot of that stuff, right? A lot of people, I'm just one of those people that believe, like, man, if you want to get something, you got to go out there and grind, work hard, and get it based off your own merit and value. People might disagree with that and say, no, that's not the case. Being an African American or people that are not white, people feel like that's not always the case. But if you get out there, you work hard, you put your best foot forward, and you grind, you can pretty much get to wherever you want. Now that's not saying there's not going to be challenges, it's not going to be roadblocks, there's not going to be stuff in your way stopping you from getting to where you want to get to, but that doesn't mean that you can't get there. Like if you look at a lot of like couple of those clips where people were talking about the situation, people were like, "Yo, man, dude got off by this and this and the third," and it's like, dude, like that dude's family was in the crowd. Go back to like when Malcolm X got killed, his wife was there, having to watch that and see that. Same thing now. And I'm not comparing the two, but it's just like the point of a situation of somebody going through situations and somebody pretty much getting murdered in front of a bunch of people. Like, how was that okay? Even if you disagree, like, what is wrong with sitting down and having a conversation? Like, somebody explain that to me. What is wrong with sitting down and having a conversation? You disagree with somebody, you can be on this side, a person be on that side. Y'all should be able to sit down and have a full conversation. And sometimes you can agree to disagree. Everybody is not built the same. Everybody's not made to be in lockstep and unison with everything going on. That's why you have different views. That's why we were created as individuals. Now we're all connected through being children of God, obviously. And if you're in your faith, you believe that, then you know what I'm talking about. But that doesn't mean that you can't disagree. That's what makes people unique. That's what makes us human. But it's like everybody, like if you look at the way stuff goes on, and I've talked about this on different episodes of the podcast, from the audio and even get into the video space now. Like a lot of times people have this hive mentality about stuff. Like I've already seen stuff talking about it was a conspiracy. If you watch this and watch that, and it's like, man, it's just it astounds me how quickly things spiral out of control. People talk all kinds of crazy, like, oh, this is, this person deserves this. Hey, look, man, at the end of the day, if you're not committing a crime or being a criminal, you just have different viewpoints. People might say, oh, man, you just roll with the white folks, man. You just black dude just come. Like that chick said to me, don't come out and say, it's not about being a savior, man. It's just about being a human being, a decent human being at that. Like, how is it okay? Look at the stuff going on in Chicago or any place where you have a high crime rate, where you got brothers killing brothers. Like you got people just killing each other, a bunch of nothing. Like what? A couple of weeks ago, there was a video on dude was live on Facebook. Somebody ran up on him and shot him and took his chain. It's crazy what is going on out here. It trips me out. I'm like, man, look, bro, the best thing you can do is stay prayed up. Pray to the Lord, pray for guidance, pray for covering, like something. Like you disagree with somebody, and then it's like people say, oh, he was spewing hate. How? If you go back and like, and that's what I'm saying, man. Like the thing that trips me out is like his videos are there, like the context is there. Even if you got a bunch of political pundits that say stuff or have disagreements with people, but this dude was literally out there having a conversation with people, engaging with people, and got killed. Why? Because somebody disagreed with what he said. Oh, he was spewing lies. How? He was spewing his opinion, rooted in fact, based off a lot of stuff that I seen. And even if you don't agree, it's like, what happens now? Now, do people go out and want to have a conversation? Because some people are gonna sit there and be like, man, hey, look, I can't even meet people in the middle. Let's sit down and have a civil conversation. You go out there, people get pissed off, and somebody pull out a gun, you dead. But it seems today that it's just like people's mindset. Like, what puts you in a state of mind that you're like, man, this dude pissed me off so bad, I gotta kill him. And it's not even just about the Charlie Kirk situation. Like, obviously, that's what prompted the talk. But if you just look at things going on in general, even in you go back to, I mean, even like the people talk about stuff going on in the hood, like people getting shot and killed for what? Over what? Now, somebody threatening your life, trying to take your life, something like that, that's different. But a lot of these conversations stuff is jumping up over what? A disagreement about nothing tangible, nothing. But people feel the need, man. Like something going on. Hey, man, I can pull out a gun. Got to do something. And to me, it just trips me out. I'm just like, dude, this is crazy. It's wild. It is wild. Try and kill that man for what? I don't get it. And then my first question is like, what's going on? Like, what is going on in the world? Like, and it's a bunch of stuff going on. This ain't the only thing. You got parents killing kids. Like, it trips me out, man. All you can do is pray and just ask God, man, to keep everybody covered. Look, just try to help us navigate through this craziness that is going on in this world because it is literally craziness going on out here, and it makes no sense. Like, you can half the stuff that happens, man. You can't even find a way to justify it, but people will. Like, you seen the videos that I just showed. People's like, oh man, he talked about this, he talked about that. Okay, cool. That means the dude need to get killed. And yeah, he's a white guy, so everybody's gonna, feel a certain way about it. Like, man, he deserves it. At the end of the day, man, look, dude, like the guy was having, like, I get the dude credit. The dude was having conversations, some very good ones at that, intellectual ones. If you actually go back and watch and listen, but as you see, as soon as stuff like this happens, man, the first thing people do is they clip and take stuff, and then they present it in a way that's not favorable, or it's presented in a way that justifies or clarifies, like pretty much justifies whatever their viewpoint is on that particular person. Like, everybody clicked, oh, he said he didn't like empathy, but look at the clip. I just played it. He talked about a term, said his piece on it, said why he preferred this over that. But nobody, like, if you look at every clip I've seen up until I actually went through and actually was able to pull the actual clip back up, nobody shows that part. They say, oh, I don't believe in empathy. It's a made up word, blah, blah, blah. Why? To perpetuate a narrative. But that's the world we live in now. I talk about posting with a purpose, and people take stuff and they post it with the purpose of proving whatever point that they're trying to prove instead of rooting it in facts. And I talk about this all the time. People need to pull, when people tell you something, man, a lot of times you need to go back and do your research. Be intellectual about how you moving. Actually take the time and do the digging for the stuff that you're talking about before people just jump and start spewing stuff. But that's the world we live in now when it comes to social media and everybody having a voice, everybody having a platform. People talk about freedom of speech, but you start seeing and realizing that people are only cool with freedom of speech when it rolls with the freedom of speech that they want to hear. If it's not flowing with what they want to hear, they got an issue with it. Now it's a problem. Nah, nah, man, not with this. And it's like, come on, make it make sense. Fair is fair. Right is wrong is wrong. I used to say when I was in the military that what used to trip me out is when people would be like, people would be at a higher rank than you and would say stuff to you, and because they were higher rank, they felt that what they said was right. And it's like, that don't make you right. And it's like the same thing now. Even when you look at politics with different viewpoints, just because you stand on one side, that doesn't necessarily make your point right. It doesn't necessarily make your point wrong. But if it's rooted in facts and you have tangible information that you can pull and justify what you're saying and prove your point to what you're saying, that's where your facts is. That's where your right or wrong is. Everything in the world is, like I said, is not agreed upon. We're just not built that way. That's just not the way the world is. That's not the way the world was designed to be. Everybody wasn't designed to be in lockstep with each other. That'd make everybody a robot. But that seems to be the case that everybody want to roll with. Everybody want to be like, just flow with whatever narrative is. And I'm like, sometimes, man, wake up, take a step back, actually deep dive, actually pull the research. Look at the numbers. Look at the information that's there. Because it's all there, especially the stuff that's public knowledge. It's there for you to easily access, and nobody wants to do that. You would rather take somebody's viewpoint and somebody's standard point on a particular topic instead of doing it, digging it, and getting information for yourself. And I think that's why we end up with situations like today that we ended up with, is because people are taking what groups and groups of people are taking, but not what saying, but not even looking into themselves to verify or get clarification or just do your own research just based off of what you're hearing. So you can be a person that can make an informed decision on whichever side that you're going to be on, but it gives you the time and the intellect to be able to make a sound decision on the situation. Like with the gun law thing, I was talking to one of my aunts early yesterday, and we was talking about it. And I was like, and this was before this whole situation jumped off. And we was talking about it. She was like, Probably what need to happen is hey, look, man, people get pissed off about it, but it might be one of those things. If you got a person living in your house, they know you got guns. They have access to your guns because obviously they in the house and they know they're there and they got access to it. And then they take your guns and go out and do some craziness. Should you be held liable for it? It might change some things when it comes to guns and people just leaving their guns out all willy nilly or allowing everybody to have access to them. Somebody take your guns and go shoot 12 people and they come back and be like, hey, man, you an accomplice to a murder. What? I didn't shoot nobody. It's your weapon. I didn't tell the person to do it. You left. You was negligent with your weapon because you left it open for somebody else to get access to it. It's the same thing like if a kid found a gun and shoot themselves. The parent gets in trouble for it. So make it make sense when people want to take this situation and say, "Oh, hey man, he said guns and people need to be sacrificed and stuff like that." And it's like, come on, bro, like that's like so generally insensitive when you talk about a situation currently going. But we talk about this particular situation currently is messed up. Because he also talked about putting the guns in the hands of people that actually should be responsible and should have guns. Like the gun talk is one of those talks, man, where I feel like it just screws and it conscrews and screws up everything. Because people are like, man, no, this is we need to have stricter gun laws, stricter gun laws. Okay, well, if you've never purchased a gun before, do you know the process of purchasing a gun legally or buying stuff for your gun? People don't even know the process, but quick to talk, quick to spew, quick to say something about it, talking without context or talking without understanding, I should say, not so much context, talking without understanding of a full situation. It trips me out, man, and it just hurts my soul, dude. That like we're in a country now where it's like, and I mean this stuff's been going on for a while, but it's like every time it happens, it's like the same thing. Like, oh man, it's this, and then something like this happened. The person's like, well, the person voted for this and the third. But then you sit there and take a step back and you look at places where you got high crime, people getting killed and doing all this other craziness. Did those people vote for those people vote to be in a place with crime? If you in an area, you're not doing nothing criminal, you're not doing nothing gang related, nothing like that, and you catch a straight bullet. Then what? Can everybody sit there and be like, well, you chose to live there? Or well, you voted for this. But you ain't voted to be in a place where people robbing, shooting, killing, stealing. And that's across many neighborhoods. White, black, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, like like Asian places, like everywhere. This is not stuff that just affects one community, it affects everybody. Everybody. Like people had the issue when everybody was like thoughts and prayers, and it's like why is praying an issue? That tripped me out when that whole thing came out. Yeah, you should pray, and yeah, there should be action. But if you in your faith and are a Christian person, and the person's like, yeah, I'm a Christian, but yeah, I'm thoughts and prayers. I'm tired of hearing thoughts and prayers. Still need to pray. Everything still needs to be rooted in God. That's the center and the core of everything. So how do you sit there and say, nah, tired of praying. I don't need to pray no more. You need action, but you need guidance for when you're coming up with this stuff and making these decisions. That's why people should pray. Get on your knees, repent, ask for forgiveness, ask God to guide your steps in the stuff that's going on and the stuff that's going on in this world, so that you could be a better person for it, or be somebody that can help with changing some of the situations. Nobody is smart and brilliant off the rip just because. Person believe that was bestowed and that was a gift given from God for you to have intellect and be able to make people to form certain opinions and thoughts to be able to do stuff, especially people that come up with stuff and do stuff that end up helping the people in the world. And like I said, man, you get back to the situation, it's just sad. People like the fact that people you can't even disagree with people anymore because that turns into an issue. You go back to the election, people was getting divorced and families was breaking up and not being able to see and talk to each other because they had different political views. Why is it wrong to be different or have a different thought process? And I'm not talking about the other different from identification. I'm not getting into that kind of different. I'm just talking about from a legit thought process of viewpoints from a political standpoint, or I mean, even with the other stuff too. I guess you might not agree with somebody's lifestyle or how somebody's doing or what somebody's doing, but at the end of the day, it's ultimately their decision to make. If you're doing stuff, like I said, everybody at the end of the day, we all got to answer to the man upstairs when that day comes. So, however you choose to live your life and do what you do with your life is up to you. But I still think, man, at some point, like people got to get their stuff together. Sad somebody lost their life just due to somebody having an issue or not agreeing with somebody's viewpoint and standing. I think that's jacked up. And I think any time somebody loses their life is jacked up. You got kids that got killed in a shooting. You got people randomly getting killed in shootings all over the place. And then obviously it's a gun that people talk about it being a gun violence issue and stuff like that. But then it's like, do the dig. How did this person get access to this gun? Now most of these things weren't person buy this gun. You know, they might have bought the ammo, but they might not have purchased the gun. I don't know, man. It's just I just sit here and it's just sad. Anytime you think about somebody losing a life, man, whether you agree with the person or don't agree with the person, as a human being, a lost life is a sad thing. It should never be something to be celebrated. Like even when people do some heinous stuff, man, like if you do something heinous and jacked up, you hurting people or doing stuff like that, yeah. Somebody you end up in a situation where there's lost life, people ain't gonna be quick to jump up and be like, yeah, man, that person shouldn't have lost it. Like, it is what it is. We human. We have our views and thoughts on it. But I'm just saying, like, it's a sad thing, man. Somebody lost their life just because, for whatever reason, the person didn't agree with them or whatever the situation was, and then people take the situation and everybody blow it and come out and say all kinds of crazy stuff and let's just stand it there. And it's like, man, talk with full context. But people not built that way because people have their own agenda and believe what they want. So I say in closing, pray to the Lord upstairs. Ask for guidance in this life. Ask for guidance in your steps and what you do and how you're moving. We're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. We're all human. We're not always going to agree. We're not always going to be in lockstep from a thought or view standpoint because everybody's their own individual and make their own decisions. But just because we don't agree doesn't mean that it has to turn into something violent. We should be able to sit down and have a discussion. One, two, be able to agree or disagree and still be able to move on and be able to be functional. Just some things you just might not agree on. And I just don't think that's the reason for somebody to lose their life. And it's kind of sad. And then you think about all the stuff going on, and I'm like, man, it's just a trip. Like, what is the world coming to? So now you get a disagreement with somebody gonna just up and take you out just because they feel like they have a right to. I don't know. I'll catch you folks on the next one, man. Everybody stay easy, be easy, stay up, like and subscribe, comment, give me your views and thoughts on it, and I will catch you guys on the next go around. God bless y'all, and y'all be easy.